the Best Business Podcast.
Hello, well, the summer's pretty much over, but the good news is the kids have gone back to school.
Hey.
So that's fantastic news. And this is the episode 2 of the Best Business Podcast. He's Jack Seymour.
He's Phil Murphy.
Welcome, thank you for joining us. Right, okay, so Jack, how's things?
Yeah, really good, thanks.
Yeah,
excited to bring the second podcast to our viewers. Give them an update on what we've been up to, different challenges some business owners have recently faced. So really good.
Yeah, we thought we'd look at some case studies this week, didn't we? It's constant now at the moment, isn't it? It lulls a little bit in August, but it picks up now. September, October, November is really busy months for us. So we'll talk about some case studies, and well, hopefully you'll find it useful, and you can get in touch if you've got any questions. So you had a little trip away this week with the teams. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah. Well, we went out of sunny Bristol and headed to London to meet one of our very important lenders, probably the largest unsecured loan provider in the UK. They've got over 5.5 billion, which was quite eye-opening to see the scale of them. Over 700 staff in that one office. So,
and that's Funding Circle.
And that is Funding Circle, yeah.
Probably the most commonly known, best known unsecured lender due to the lots of marketing that they do.
Absolutely, yeah. They're really, really prevalent, and quite often we'll use them as a barometer for other lenders because they have 3 different product types, actually 4 now. They're very short-term loan offering, so 0 to 12 months. They're for the newer business. They have the one that's up to 5 years, which is very popular. We do a lot of those loans. And they're flexi pay, which is like a revolving credit, but it effectively works like a business credit card. So it allows businesses to pay suppliers and make any cash flow payments. So they have a really powerful product offering, and the purpose was to take us.
It's important that they invited you up.
Yeah.
Why would they invite? You up?
Absolutely. So the purpose of the meeting really was a bit of a thank you for how many businesses we've brought to their door and the success as a result, because we've had some massive success stories from clients. They've received funding from Funding Circle, obviously through us, through ourselves, and they've brought it to Funding Circle's attention what brilliant job we've done for them as a broker. So that was really rewarding, and the amount of business that we've placed with them as well over the years, the amount of business we've placed with them over the years. So
So they invited you up to just thank you for being a valued introducer.
Absolutely. So that was great. It was really good.
That was interesting, and that was interesting what you just said there about them being a barometer, because you put something through them first. They can't always do the deal, but it does give you clues as to why they couldn't do the deal, which then helps. How does that help you as a broker?
Yeah, because I always say to all our brokers, the acceptance and the decline are equally as important, because of course our job is to get as many yeses for clients as possible, because that's why they come to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they've either been declined or they want to know their funding options, and we will compare all their different unsecured loan options. But if it is declined, because the nature of what we do can't always get an acceptance, knowing why they've been declined and having that detailed overview allows us to understand when we next place it that we're placing it in the best home possible. So
that saves time for the client.
Saves time, and ultimately it saves them money as well, because again, that's part of our job, to get the very best funding that we can for them.
It's always nice to be appreciated and invited up, and we go out with lots of lenders. It's not just Funding Circle, but that is nice, and you were quite impressed with the office and the size of the operation by the sounds of it.
And the setup, it was absolutely. And they started out, I think it was about 9 years ago.
Yeah.
So it was quite inspiring to see where they come over 9 years and how they've grown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's brilliant. Really interesting. Okay, and cases we worked on, any good cases, or any of the team have had any interesting cases this week? Last week?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the most rewarding ones was a startup recruitment company came to us. They were looking for Invoice Finance because they're temporary recruitment into the construction, education sectors.
Now, construction's not always an easy sector to place temporary staff firms because not all lenders want anything to do with construction.
Yeah,
so it's not an easy one to go and find on your own, is what I'm getting at there.
Absolutely. So construction is a real niche for us, but that's where we can add a lot of value. So they were looking to place temporary workers as a recruitment agency based in the Midlands of the UK. They had a projected turnover of 1.3 million. That's what they projected that they were going to turn over in the first year, which is no mean feat. But one of the directors had experience, and a lot of experience as a recruiter. So we compared different invoice financiers, and within 72 hours, he'd signed the invoice finance document, secured a factoring facility for his new start recruitment business, and then the next week, at the end of that week, when he raised his invoice, he got the funding he needed. So that was a huge success story.
Brilliant.
And again, he left a really nice review for us, hints and tips, a really nice review for us on Google, which is always
it's always nice, and it is useful, isn't it, when you're trying to generate new business? It's that trust element, isn't it? Oh, well, that's a really interesting one. I had an invoice finance. I'm working on a case at the moment where actually it was probably good that he did come to a broker because he was based in Scotland.
Right.
Not all lenders will, because of the differences in Scottish law, not all lenders actually will work in Scotland. It was construction as well. That narrows the pot again. He was a homeowner, which is good. So I just think if he, so I've gotten two really good options on the table that we're just reviewing at the moment. But I think it's a good case of using a broker because he could have tried quite a lot of different. If he'd have done that on his own, I know he would have gone to 3, 4, 5, 6, and he would have spent a lot of time having the same conversations, only to find out, no, sorry, it's not something we can do. And that might not be apparent in the first conversation. It might be something that if they just phone in directly and speaking to a lender, the person on the phone may have to go away and check that. It's just delay. They need money. He just won a big new contract for doing plumbing and heating for local authorities and hospitals. So he needed something quickly. So again, it's just using an expert like ourselves can save an awful lot of time.
Yeah, and that's a really good point there. I think it was the speed, wasn't it, that you mentioned, because a lot of our clients don't know they need funding quickly, and that local authority. How many businesses over the years have we seen that are dealing with local authority? Because quite often, isn't it, they win a new contract with a large blue chip customer, which is fantastic for them, but how are they going to fund that contract? How are they going to, because you're not going to be able to necessarily, the NHS or local councils, they'll pay when they want to pay almost. Yes, you have your payment terms, but there's only so much you can do because there's multiple departments within those large organisations. So I think, if you agree, that's one of the true benefits, isn't it, of invoice finance? Because Absolutely. It allows them to deal with that larger customer and take on that work without being penalised themselves. Yeah,
I remember I phoned someone once and asked him if he had any big contracts coming up, if he's going to need any funding, and he thought I'd bugged his office. He said, we've just been talking about that. Literally, we're talking about that now. They'd won £400,000 contract, which was big for them. It was the biggest thing they'd ever done. They were all celebrating. And then someone said, "Yeah, are we going to finance that then?" And then I phoned. So they thought I was bugging the place, which I wasn't. Just good timing. But yeah, it's quite common, and it's very rare that you'll get a business owner thinking 6 or 12 months ahead and start looking at invoice, whatever it is, factoring, unsecured loans, whatever it might be, they pretty much need it now. So you're under pressure straight away, really.
Yeah, what an amazing, I think that's the next talking point, isn't it? Looking forward and forecasting. How many of business owners would benefit from doing simple forecasting? Yeah. Because you get so bogged down in the day-to-day of running your business and doing what you're good at, you forget what's happening in 3, 6, 9, 12 months. Where do I want to be in 12 months' time? And how can I plan for that? And I find, personally, the businesses that are turning over in excess of 2 million are the ones that actually are forecasting and looking ahead. And that's probably why, partially, they are where they are, because you can't change the past on what, has happened. You can only learn from it. So annual accounts, you can only interpret them and read them, but you can't change them. So they're not useless, but
it's out of date, isn't it? It's out of date.
It's always out of date information. So when we ask for management information, profit and loss and balance sheet, that should be there straight away, because that is
that's how you're keeping score.
That's the lifeblood, isn't it? Yeah. You're sort of monitoring the business. If you were unwell and you went to the hospital and they said, oh yeah, well, you had a heart attack last year, that would obviously change your lifestyle going forward, but there's nothing that you can do about it. Yeah. But then if you were sat there and saying, right, okay, well, over the next 12 months, I'm going to eat better, I'm going to do more exercise, I'm going to look after myself, then you're looking ahead and you probably won't have all being well, have a heart attack again. Yeah. And I think there's those similarities, isn't there, in business, that if you're forecasting, you're looking ahead and you're setting yourself targets to hit and your staff to hit, then you can make judgments.
You can measure it as well, isn't it?
It's measurable. It's measurable, exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because since we've been working together, we have sort of split some, so we're not doing the same things. I'm doing some more of the marketing and things like that. You're doing a lot of the more strategic stuff. And I think you've surprised yourself by taking yourself out of the day-to-day, constantly working on cases. And then whenever you go off and you have a day or two off, you're coming back and you're just full of ideas and everything's being planned out. So I think I've seen that with you. One of the biggest changes for me with my business, which I've been in business for 10 years, my accountant was constantly telling me to get an accounts package. And I was like, yeah, it's an extra cost or whatever. I'll get it at some point. But actually, as soon as I got it, and I use Free Agent, as soon as I got that, there was no more guesswork about, so I used to get my corporation tax bill at the end of the year. I go, how much? You must be joking. So I would just totally just day to day, just in it, and just worry about it later. That was my sort of attitude, and that and that's obviously why we have a lot of people come to us for corporation tax loans and VAT loans, because I always say to people, you've got to get your accounts package, whichever one you like. Just get an accounts package and understand where you are. Every single day you can see where you are, how much dividends you can take. You've got, it sounds obvious to a lot of people, but there's a lot of people who don't. I'll tell you about one in a sec.
Yeah, absolutely. So say they run Xero, for example. I'm a big fan of Xero accountancy package. You can, and I'm sure you can do this with others. You can put your forecast into the accountancy package. So it will track. So it will not only show your income on a daily basis, live data, it will track against where you want to be. And show you are here this month and you wanted to be there, or vice versa. Yeah. And that will tell you.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's getting that snapshot of exactly where you are at any one time.
Absolutely.
This year compared to last year. And even if you're a very small business owner, those things, it's quite inspiring actually. If you see, well, actually, I didn't realise that's one of my best months ever. But actually, if I do a little bit more, I could have my best month ever.
And a lot of our listeners will be small business owners, but that doesn't mean that you will be a small business forever. If you have aspirations to be a large business in excess of 10 million turnover, then just because you're a small business doesn't mean that you shouldn't be following those same processes.
You've got to think now like you're a bigger business. And one of the examples is a friend of mine who's done really, really well, had a business for about 10 years in the sort of telecoms industry, and he's just getting to the stage now where he's been offered these larger contracts. We're talking 400, 500,000 pounds contracts, and I can see that it's like, oh, I want to go for it, but now I'm going to have to restructure everything. You know, I can see there's an awful lot of pressure. He feel it's making that leap, and he does need to sort out some of his sort of process flows and things like that. So actually, we are looking at invoice factoring for them, but I sent a friend of mine in there as a consultant who does turnarounds, not in a turnaround situation, but helps structure so we can see the bigger picture. And I think actually he will make that leap, but it just did need that help and guidance from someone who's been there and done it before to sort of show him how you can actually make it work and how you can take on more and more business. So that was really interesting as well.
Yeah, I bet it was, because that is you know, yes, we support the smaller business, don't we, where they need that quick cash injection to get over this obstacle or this stretch phase which they're going through. But we do work with that medium-sized business, or the small to medium-sized business, shall I say, the ones which you mentioned there, your friend who has the telecoms business, is growing, but actually, how do they put the infrastructure in place? Because it could have been that he's recruited staff that he likes, he knew, and he trusts them, but now the beast is bigger than him, and how does he put those building blocks in place? So everything's not funneled through him as well.
Yeah.
Because how many times do we hear that, Jack, I'm a business owner, but I need to get out of the day-to-day?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you another important thing as well. So when it comes to lending, if we're proposing a case to a lender, they need to see paper, especially with invoice finance. They want to see a purchase order. They need a solid paper trail.
Audit trail.
Purchase order, sign off, invoice. And they'll probably need 2, 3, 4 examples of that to be comfortable that you've got a good process. So if anything happens to your company, the lender can still get their money back. And like my friend and several others, they're just getting an email saying, go and do this job. And they're doing the job, taking a photo and sending it back. But when you can't take that to a lender, they straight away, we help. So, well, actually, you need to strengthen this. You need to strengthen this paper trail first, because the lender sees that. Some of them might work with you, but some of them might go straight away, they're not ready for us yet. I had that with a big bank that I gave a good introduction to. They said they gave 3 different accounts. I asked for their latest accounts, and they gave us draft accounts. They looked at them, the bank didn't think they were right. They went back and did it 2, 3 times. So they got 3 different numbers every time, and the bank just said, they're not ready for us. Tell them to try us in a year when they've got all this in place. So so we help do that, but yeah, you have to get the structures in place, the processes in place, especially if you want to borrow money. You have to get your ducks in a row.
And we can help with that, can't we?
Yes, certainly, yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's one of our USPs, that we'll actually work with a client that
get them ready, get them funder ready.
Get them ready for funding, get them set for growth. Because yes, we have the highest success rate in the industry of securing funding, but if it is ever a no, we will continue to work with that client to put the processes in place that when we go for funding again, that it will be a yes.
Yeah, usually they might have their latest account is going to be due in 3 to 6 months, and you say, look, you need to leave some money in the account, you need to show some profit, every month, and let's revisit it then, and you stay in touch, and then eventually when it gets through, you've built a really good relationship there, because we're not just trying to get people funding, we're trying to help people achieve their dreams and try and grow their business. That's what it's all about, and we're trying to grow ours, so we understand.
Well, it's no secret, is it? The more successful our clients are, the more successful we are. So we're masters of our own destiny, effectively. We're in control, because that's why we do what we do, is to make our clients as successful as possible, because the more success they have, the more success we have. So it's in our interest to really provide that valuable consultancy as we go forward. Okay.
Thank you for watching. If you have any commercial finance requirements, please visit us at thebestgroup.co.uk. See you on the next episode.